Welcome back to Project Granja Caimito. This is the story of how we built a new farm in Andalusia, Spain, from scratch. So far, we've been working on a simple structure to be on the land full time. We've gotten a few animals and are starting with actual farming. This video is part 2 of a series. Please check out part 1 if you haven't seen it yet. For those who have already subscribed, once again, welcome back. By the end of July, some of the cows kept trying to find a way back to the mamas, but we always brought them back to the new herd. I need to mention that we were driving with vehicles all over the place in the beginning. The soil was dry and compacted, and it didn't really matter. But now in 2020, as I edit these videos, our soil has changed, and we never go off the road with vehicles. Our solar system got extended a bit. We now had 6 panels for a total of almost 2000 watt peak power. Our land is located in Andalusia. In the north, it borders Castilla-La Mancha, which happens to be another autonomous region of Spain. That part is more sloped than the rest of the farm, and because of that, has a more rugged character. Walking around it, one can find signs of wild boars roaming the area. Also, we didn't yet finish the house. We moved some things into it so that we can prepare a simple meal and keep food cool. The green drywall is for a shower, while the white one is for everything else. This wooden box is going to be used to store solar energy in batteries. The horse, our daughter named him Solo, turned out to be a mistreated animal. He tasted freedom, and since then refuses to be touched. That's a huge problem in this area. Many people here don't treat animals well. As a consequence, the flies have been going after him, and we had a hard time catching him for treatment. If I corner him and use some rope to reduce the space he can move in, he remembers his life in confinement, and from one moment to the next, goes back to the behavior that was expected. I have a lucky smile because now I can treat the wounds on his back. By mid-August, we finally got some rain. We had seeded some beans to grow some cover crop after disturbing the soil with the excavator. Regenerative agriculture is all about rainwater harvesting and keeping the water on the farm for as long as possible. No water, no fertility. We dug the swale on contour. There we will plant a food forest soon. In Andalusia, there isn't hardly any rainfall for several months during summer. It may be that by the end of May the last rain falls, and then it's hot and dry until September or even October. The two dominant types of business here in Valle de los Pedroches is to keep Iberian pigs and to keep mother cow-calf pairs. In the case of the cow-calf pairs, most calves are then sold to a feedlot, where they are fed grains to bring them up quickly to slaughter weight. Our newly bought land doesn't have any significant fertility, at least not as we would like it to have. So we had to buy something from the outside to feed our new cows. It is common to feed the cows straw, not hay, in this area, so we are doing the same at this point. We divided our land into 4 major zones named A to D. The plan is to develop each zone at a time. Here one of us is bringing 2 bales of straw to the cows in zone A. Each bale has a weight of about 450 kilograms. We've got the sun in the house now, all solar powered. In the shade of the house, and because we've been washing things frequently, some green has shown up by early September. However, elsewhere on the farm, there is no green to be seen yet. We are desperately waiting for the rain at the end of summer. Now in early September, the real rain has come. And that means when it rains, it pours. Here we are driving between the public road and the entrance to our farm. We need to cross a creek before coming to our gate. It is important to observe the flow of rainwater. That means you run around with the camera and get wet. We've put some straw down to protect the seeds we distributed earlier. The temperature is still a nice 25 degrees Celsius as soon as the sun comes out again. Inside our land there is a temporal creek, and after only 2 hours the trickle it had has turned into something else. Let's watch.
Mira aquí delante. No, eso es nuevo. Sí. Isabela.
After the rain, the swales are full. Now the water can infiltrate the soil slowly instead of running away into the creek. This is the temporal creek where we observed the huge wave the day before. As you can clearly see, the water tends to take with it organic matter and leaves the heavier sand. We need to see what we can do about that. We don't want to lose the so important organic matter to this type of erosion. Sun and water is what it takes. Immediately everything starts to green up. Around the oak trees we can see green circles. It appears that there is something going on between the tree and the grasses. I've asked around to learn about it. Nobody can clearly explain it, but a few explanations seem reasonable. During the night there is condensation on the leaves, and so there is more water available even without rain. Quercus, the scientific name for the trees, has a symbiotic relationship with mycorrhizal fungi that channel nutrients to the tree and also the roots of the grasses around it. Another is that the tree changes its leaves every few years, and thus there is more organic matter in the soil. I think it's probably because of the fungi and condensation. In areas without animal impact, the old dry grasses are standing and block the sunlight. It takes longer for new growth to appear. These guys are going to do a very important job. We are planning to have much more so that we can do mob grazing for higher animal impact on the land. The untouched parts of the land do look especially sad and dry. Not much is growing here. From the distance it looks nice, But once you look at the ground, that impression changes quickly. That's why we opted to use holistic management and work with grazing animals. We believe this to be the right method to restore fertility quickly. Here is one of our valued members of animal staff, hard at work. She is taking off the old standing hay to let sunlight get down to the ground. At the right side of the wall, you can see the lush green that emerged. On the other side of that wall, the old grass hinders the development of new plant growth. This is a drone shot taken just a month earlier of the area where these guys are grazing. Between the old grasses, one can spot new green ones. It was urgent to put these cows onto that area. This area, on the other hand, had been grazed off of the old grass much earlier, and because of that, it is now ahead in pasture growth. The horse, Zolo, certainly will agree. Electric fencing allows to set up infrastructure quickly, but it also needs to be done properly. Sparks can light a fire, so this needs to be fixed immediately. At this moment, we don't have any permanent infrastructure to manage grazing. The only fence is at the perimeter, and it's old, and in some areas it is in bad shape. So we use flexible fence posts that we have to put up and down every time. Depending on how long we want to keep the animals in a certain area, this method basically means that one person cannot do anything else during a day. One is completely occupied in herding and moving the cows. But then this method does produce results. At the end of the day, the only valid metric is to have green pasture throughout the whole year for a high quality beef product and fertility in the soil so that many other things become possible. Thank you, cows, for your work. Let's go to the next paddock now. These sheep are grazing in an area that we call Zone B. It is where the cows had been grazing before, and now at the end of September, about 3 weeks after the rain fell, it does look pretty nice. Others have noticed that as well. We've had some sheep from elsewhere invade our land. They crawled under the fence, and now Juan and Angel are putting in some steel mesh to close the gaps. This area in Zone A is looking very nice and lush. With all the animals happily munching on new grass, we've got some time to start a different project. This is going to be a chicken coop. The cows got assigned these strips in Zone C. It's mostly stones and barren soil at the moment. Look! These sheep enjoy some playtime as well. We are now in the middle of November, and this area, which was in bad shape a little while ago, is now beginning to look much better. I really like to see these humps in the grass. That's where the cows drop their manure. For personal consumption, we've got 3 pigs. These are a 50-50 mix between Iberian and Duroc breeds. We turned the former sheep corral into a pig corral. For that, we put down 3 bales of straw as deep bedding in one area, so that the pigs have something to do. The straw also helps to avoid any odor, as the carbon content of the straw neutralizes the smell from the pig poop. Pigs are very clean animals, which is contrary to the saying in many cultures. They keep the area where they sleep and eat absolutely free from poop and go potty in other areas. It is only when a human does not allow them to live according to their natural instincts, when the smell and other issues arise. Many farmers fear this. Pigs like to root up the soil and destroy whatever wants to grow. Here they are looking for acorns, which are partially buried in the soil underneath that oak tree. Acorns are what is used to feed the Iberian pig between November and February, before they have gained the target weight for slaughter. Now this one has a full belly and wants to sleep for the rest of the day. November also means more rain is falling, and as we were driving around with our backhoe, the road has turned into some mushy mud. We are going to fix that by ordering a few truckloads of stones. They are about 10 by 10 centimeters in size. If I remember right, we've got around 3 trucks and then distributed it to all the most affected areas. It was not enough to cover the road well, but it's enough so that nobody gets stuck. We do have a lot of stones all over the place, but we don't have the machine to collect them, and unlike the past, you can't do it manually these days. Now in December 2018, we started to put up a bit more infrastructure for cattle management. Here we are in Zone C. With some more flexible posts, we created a path around an area so that we can exclude it from grazing. Eventually, we will have a permanent fence here. However, it is way cheaper to start simple like this and then improve step by step. This is a single-strand electric fence, but it's enough to tell the cows where to graze and where not. But then, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. It requires some training to make them respect it. We are designing for a larger number of small paddocks, of an average size of just 5,000 square meters each. For about 40 hectares that we want to dedicate to grazing, that means we eventually need to fence in 80 areas of that size. 20 cows will not be enough for good animal impact on 5,000 square meters over 24 hours. And much less will it work with so few animals once the grass grows vigorously. Mob grazing, as it is being practiced all over the world when doing holistic management, requires a much higher load. That grazing practice has us work towards a herd of 80 or 100 head and then move them twice or 3 times per day. In our area, this practice is mostly unknown. Because of strictly managed grazing, we have pretty good regrowth of the grasses. This wasn't there before. We give a zone around 4 weeks' time to recover before grazing it again. Our farmland has an easement that crosses between our zones A and C. That easement is a simple dirt road where a neighbor passes once a week to check on his cattle. When we move our cattle between zone A and C, we want to block that easement so that the animals know where to go to. This is one of our first new farm gates. It is good for animal health to make them move. In nature, animals walk a long distance to find water for drinking. We mimic nature by placing waterers along the paths that interconnect all the paddocks. This is the happy dance our cows perform when we move them into a paddock with very lush and juicy grass. 2018 is coming to its end. The temperature has dropped and we have some frost overnight. We are now officially in winter. There is no snow here in Andalusia, at least not in our elevation. Thank you for watching the second part of our story. Please subscribe to our channel. There will be more videos about our journey, as well about certain details about our farming and animal stewardship practices.